This video, I really wanted to make it like more comfy. I love watching YouTube videos while I'm getting ready, where I'm like cleaning the house. You know, like on a Saturday where you wake up, like if you're Hispanic, you know, your parents would wake you up. Saturday was para limpiar, and it was horrible. So while you're cleaning, while you're doing whatever you're doing, I really wanted to make this video just telling you guys the story about how I started my own virtual CPA firm. I did the same journey that a lot of people who are watching this, who are studying to be accountants, who are studying for their CPA, or who are currently working in a CPA role. I want to tell you about why I quit public accounting in 4 months and why it was honestly the best decision ever. For you guys who don't know me, my name is Anna, and I help you and clients all over the country play the IRS game. Essentially, we work with business owners and real estate investors to play the game and minimize their tax liability as much as legally possible so they can pay 0 or very little taxes just like the wealthy do it. So grab your drink, grab your papitas, whatever you need to grab, because this might be a long one. Let's just get straight into it. When I think about this, I want to publicly apologize to my parents if they ever watch this, because after high school, I knew that I wanted to be an accountant. Like, my mom was an accountant. I had a really cool accounting teacher in high school, and as soon as I took the accounting class, I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. I am not an interior designer. Everything that isn't anything that has to do with interior designing, I hire someone, because I'm a black and white person in my entire life, right? It's got to be this or that. There is no in between. And I love that about accounting. So my parents were so graceful, and I was able to get into the University of Wisconsin-Madison, so go Badgers, for 2 years. And I say 2 years because you guys, the tea. I partied so freaking hard. Like, okay, but first of all, if you grew up in a Hispanic household, you know how this is. My parents had the strictest curfew on me. I mean, I had to be home by 10 o'clock, and I could only pick either Friday or Saturday to go out. The memes out there of Hispanic parents or foreigners, period, were like, you have to ask permission to do everything, and you gotta pick wisely, because either Friday night you're going out or Saturday, one of the two. I was a senior, I still had that curfew. I was never allowed to go to after parties after prom. I remember I would drink. Actually, let's not talk about this, but yeah, I would drink, and like if I had to be home by 10, I would start at like 7. I would drink and then have my friends drive me, which, shout out to my friends who were so sweet and would actually leave the party, drive me home, and then get drunk. So good for them. Those are the real ones, okay? Shout out to Leah and Jamie. Those were my real ride or die friends. But okay, anyways, fast forward, I got to Madison and I let loose. I was partying Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know that song? Going out on a Tuesday. I remember that. I remember that song. I took it to heart. I would go out on a Tuesday, Wednesday. And back then we were young. We could party. I would throw up. I mean, you guys, the stories. Long story short, I partied way too much that my roommate, which I am sorry that this happened, actually talked to the RA and kicked me out because she was like, I cannot deal with this drunk girl. I get it. I was a sloppy drunk. I would come home crying. Needless to say, you guys, it was the best 2 years of my life that my parents funded 2 years of partying. So I will make it up to them. Look at me now, parents. Anyways, so I didn't get into the business school right away because, of course, I mean, how could I with like, I had like a 2.9 or something and they needed a 3.5. And I was like, all right. At that point, I had partied way too much, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to actually start making real money. So I applied to the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee to get into their business school, which in hindsight was great because I met some of my best friends there. Got to Milwaukee, did not party because I lived at home with my parents. I think my parents were literally like, hey, you need to calm down. So anyways, went back to Milwaukee. After that, I commuted to UWM every single day. It was horrible. But eventually, since I had taken so many courses at Madison, I did not need to go and get my master's because when I graduated after 4.5 years, I had enough credits to take my CPA. So I went ahead and did not want to take my master's because I was like, that's more money. Like, I don't need to invest that money. My parents literally were like, you are on your own. They did not give me a penny, which I get it after what I did to them. They shouldn't give me anything. So anyways, here's where if you're an accounting or a finance person, the cool thing about being in a university is that these big firms come and they prey. I don't even say that they're gonna hire us. They come and they like prey on us little guys who are like loving and wanting to be accountants and having a job after college, which in hindsight, they realized that we were hungry and we were willing to work and we had no idea what actually working in a public firm was like. So thankfully, I had a job with Baker Tilly right after college. So I was super blessed and I was like super excited to go work. I graduated May 2012 and I started Baker Tilly sometime in September. And I was super excited. I was like, this is gonna be great. I've never had an accounting internship anywhere. I worked as a teller at a bank, which I freaking loved. So I had no idea what billable hours were. I had no idea that you had to work longer than you should have. And I know, I get it. You have to work really hard. But I hated it. And here's the reason why I hated it. I don't think training was there 100%. And it's not to blame the company. To be honest, like a lot of companies don't train, they just throw you out there, which is fine. But I didn't find a passion for it. I also hated the fact that in order for me to be valuable, I had to bill clients. Again, I understand now. I hated the fact that if I was done with my work at 5 o'clock or at 3, I couldn't leave. And the biggest thing that I disliked then, now again, you guys, all the things I disliked then, I see the benefits now. But at that time, my ego was too big, I was too immature, and I was like, I am not going to spend all of this time here with these people and then be expected to go to networking events afterwards. That was my biggest thing. I was like, I don't really care. Like, I really, truly don't care about any of these people enough to go and have networking and happy hours afterwards. So my dad knew someone who was looking for an accounting manager at a private firm. They called me, they were offering me. At that time, I was making, my salary was $49,000. God, I mean, it's crazy to think that, right? And when they hired me at this new place, they were like, we'll give you $60,000 and you'll be the accounting manager of a manufacturing paint company. And I was like, dude, anything to get me out of this, I don't care. So I remember going into HR and saying, hey, like, this is the reason why I'm leaving. Like, I thought they were gonna care about me. And then I realized what corporate America was really like, and they could give two about it. I think that I remember them, the only thing they were saying is like, hey, no one's ever quit this fast. Usually they get through busy season. But I was like, yeah, I just feel like you guys should change this and this. And she's like, and like didn't care, because guess what? The next season of people who were graduating were also eager to get a job. So I get it. I was immature. I didn't know. So I left Baker Tilly and I started the accounting manager job at this private manufacturing firm. I will say that that is where I learned the most I could have learned. I mean, I worked there like literally opening mail to all, eventually I got to a place after 2 years where I was presenting financials to the board and then to the bank. I learned so much. I know that when we're in college, they teach us like debits and credits and T accounts, but when you actually put them into play, that's really where you learn. I think you learn the most when you are actually doing it. I learned so much. I was so grateful to the CFO. He really literally gave me free reins. He was like, hey, he was only there every other week. I started as just like an accountant and then they ended up firing the accounting manager. So I literally took over everything. I had everything, which was great because it was actually really nice to feel like I added value to the company. You know, people were calling me like I was the person. And then eventually I remember talking to my CFO and I was like, hey, you know, the next level is I want to become the best, baddest CFO in the world. Like, work for a huge company, just like I love this. And then after 2 years, I was like, this is the same thing. I am back to doing the exact same thing I was doing at Baker Tilly and hating it. I hated the 9 to 5. Honestly, you guys, I really hated someone telling me what I can do and what I can't do. I wanted the freedom of being able to do whatever I want when I wanted. If on a Monday I didn't want to work, that's what I wanted to happen. So Fast forward, a lot of things, a lot of drama happened, and I was like, screw it. With the help of my mom and my family who were very supportive, I was like, hey, I'm gonna start my own firm. But it sounds a lot easier than I'm explaining it to you here, because it was actually really scary, because my entire life I had gone from getting a paycheck every single week to now praying that I was going to get clients. So what I did was I talked to my CFO and I was like, hey, I want to start doing taxes. Is that okay? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. Like, it has nothing to do with what you do here. Which, for those who don't know, just because you're a CPA does not mean that you can do taxes, okay? So just because your cousin Bob went to school to be an accountant, don't ask him for tax advice, because there's different careers that you can take as being a CPA. Some people do auditing, some people go into finance, some people go statistics. Not everyone who's an accountant is a tax preparer. So he's like, yep, go ahead, do that. So after that happened, I didn't have anybody. Like, I didn't know a lot of people, and social media back then was not as big as it is now. So I went and I got some crappy Vistaprint cards, and I remember I was putting them out everywhere. I mean, social media was a little bit, but not as much as it is right now. I was posting it on Facebook. I was letting everybody know. And my dad has a partner that they had just opened a Mexican grocery store. So after work, I would go and I would sit out there and I would hand out my business cards and I would talk to people and I would say, hey, like, if you're looking for someone to do your taxes, like, here's my card. I will definitely attest the fact that I was willing to do whatever it took. I know, shame, I love talking to people. And at first it was a little bit, like, nerve-wracking, but then I was like, this is how we all start. We literally start from the bottom. And I don't think anyone actually came and did the taxes with me. I mean, I remember I was literally charging people $150. I mean, that's insane. If you are a CPA preparing taxes, please, you do not need to be charging someone $150. It needs to be more than that. But I digress, So anyways, after that, I was like, I need to quit my job, because if I don't quit my job, I'm always going to have this safety. And that's the problem with people, including myself, who want to start something new, but they have the safety net. And I will say I had that safety net for months. And you just have to do it, because you grow out of being uncomfortable. It is hard, and it is not, I mean, it was hard. I cried, I would stay up late at night, but I decided one day, I was like, all right, I'm gonna quit my safety net. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to find a contracting job that will pay me similar to what I was making, and at least that will float my bills. And then I'll make extra. That's exactly what I did. I said bye to my W-2 job, and I had an amazing company with amazing people who took a chance on me, who were looking for someone to literally move all of their accounting into QuickBooks. They had like old school, like black and green screens, debits and credits, and they were like, we need to get out of this. So I moved that to QuickBooks, and it was great. I met some great people. I loved it. But of course, again, at first I was working like 40 hours there because it was a lot of work and I wanted to make money. But eventually I was like, hey, I'm scaling back, I'm making more money. So eventually I ended up leaving that. But in the meantime, what I started doing was literally just networking as much as I could. Back then, networking was huge. So in hindsight, had I known what I knew then, and I hate that saying, networking is huge. Now I know obviously the benefits of it, but I didn't really know that when I started at Baker Tilly. So my business took off. I was starting to get a lot of people who wanted to work with me, a lot of word of mouth. At the beginning, it was referrals, which honestly, that's the biggest compliment to me and my team. Then right before COVID, I really was like, okay, I'm gonna go in 100% in this. And I quit that. I started using social media for advertising. I started a business page. I started posting videos, but I think in the last 2 years, that's when my business really took off, because social media is an amazing, powerful tool. Again, networking, and I've just been really blessed. So now that I've told you how it happened, I want to tell you, for anyone, I wanted to say two things. For anyone who is in the field of studying for accounting, please note that it is okay for you if you decide that you don't want to work for one of the big accounting firms. I understand the benefits of it. You do have an open door anywhere you go because they work you hard and you do get a lot of experience. But I remember I felt like a failure. I remember all my friends had all these public jobs with Deloitte, KPMG, BDO, And you know, they were moving up in the ranks. They were staff and they were managers or whatever, I don't even know. And I felt that I wasn't good enough, and I always felt like a failure because maybe I wasn't smart enough to become that. It took me forever to pass my CPA test. I always had some self-doubt, but then there came a point where I was like, you know what? I'm really good at, I know I'm really good at sales. And I was like, this is where I need to focus on. The 9 to 5 sitting behind a desk was just not for me. So just because people tell you that that's the route you have to go, you don't have to do it, and it's okay. You have to create your own path. However, it is extremely more difficult. I mean, when I thought, hey, I don't want to work a 9 to 5, you guys, I was working a 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. for years. I mean, I missed out on so many things with my family. I remember specifically one time, I also wasn't making a lot of money, right? My family came up from Mexico. I lived in Milwaukee back then, and they were gonna go down to Chicago for the weekend. And I remember I had so much work, but also I didn't have money to pay for the train. And I remember just being like, one of these days, I'm going to be able to just work whenever I want. And I can be like teary-eyed about this. Oh my God, why am I getting so emotional? Because there were summers that if you guys know and you're from the Midwest, like summers in Wisconsin are the best. And I would miss out on a lot of that because I was working so hard. And when they say work hard, play hard, and a little bit of help, not a little bit, a lot of help from God, I'm able to sit here and say that my firm is definitely, I don't want to talk numbers because I think that's dumb, but I can work whenever I want, and I can pick with whoever I want to work with. I've been really blessed that I have really good staff. We pride ourselves on just communication and like caring about the client, and we focus in real estate. You have to find your niche. But at the end of the day, this entire journey, or whatever journey or path you want to take, and if you want to become partner at one of those firms, it's okay too. But just note that it takes a lot of work. I don't know where nowadays millennials or anyone gets this notion that, I mean, back in the day, no one gave us anything. There's nothing. Like, you have to literally start from the bottom and work your way up. Like, started from the bottom, now we're here. Like, please insert that song here from Drake, because it's so freaking true. You just have to work really hard to where you're at. But if public accounting is something you don't want to do, remember, it's okay, and you can do whatever you want. And I could probably make this video like an hour, but I don't want to bore you guys with the details. I can always make a part 2, but I just want to talk about my journey and how I went from literally partying and being a sloppy drunk to now owning a very, very successful virtual real estate CPA firm and 3 properties. So it's doable. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave a comment below and you subscribe to my channel.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.